Patricia Hill Collins was born in 1948 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was the only child of two working-class Black Americans. Her father was a veteran from World War II, and her mother was a secretary in Washington, D.C. Her mother had wanted to go to school at Howard University, where she wanted to study English. She wanted to become a teacher one day, but unfortunately, financially, this did not work out for her. So she made sure that from an early age, her daughter Patricia was literate and would get into university one day. At university, she studied sociology and eventually became a professor of sociology and Africana studies at multiple universities. Everywhere she went, she really made sure to invigorate and emphasize Black culture and really get people excited about it and interested in learning about it, especially in areas where there weren't exactly large Black populations. In a lot of her works, she specifically cites other feminist thinkers that came before her. For example, Audre Lorde, Angela Davis, Toni Morrison. These are all women that she names specifically as having inspired her in some way. One of her big emphasis in her works is intersectionality. Intersectionality is the idea that because identities often intersect, like being a Black woman or being gay and, say, Muslim, these make our experiences different and can make the way that we view society or how we conduct ourselves, how we are viewed by others, it impacts these things. For example, she specifically cites that Black women have different experiences with sexism than white women and different experiences with racism than Black men. One of her most notable works is called Black Feminist Thought. This is a book-length essay which discusses her views on intersectionality, and she really talks about these ideas that intersectionality is a more comprehensive and thorough lens through which to view oppression. Because if you look at the more hierarchical lens, which was popular at the time, it takes into account one aspect of an identity and discards the others as being less important. Through a hierarchical lens, one identity becomes more important than the other identities that a person might have. She argues that viewing all aspects of a person's identity and all of the pieces that combine to make the individual gives us a more thorough look at the depth of oppression and the depth of injustice. For example, just because a Black family achieves middle class status, it doesn't make them protected suddenly from class dispute or racism. In a lot of her work, she also discusses powerlessness and how people who are victims of societal and systemic oppression often can have warped senses of self and issues seeing the reality of their situation, and they often view these things differently than the people who have the power over them do. Her works, especially Black Feminist Thought, which garnered a lot of attention and earned her several awards from different sociological, psychological, historical societies, a lot of her works are very widespread in academia. She is very well known. She is very distinguished and well respected in these fields. And a lot of her works are very common in African American studies, in feminist classes, sociological classes, things like this. In general, she is viewed as a very well respected woman in the field of sociology, as well as Africana studies, women's studies, things of this nature. She's currently still a professor at the University of Maryland, and she still gives lectures, she still speaks at universities, and she still writes, and a lot of her books are still very, very popular to this day and have had a really big impact on spreading intersectionality as a lens.